Hi, my name is Samantha Mirabal. I was going to quick explain why sometimes you'll see things like this, where you're going from a nice satin over to where it's continuing to be a satin. It goes over into a fill stitch through here, back to satin. Got a little bit of fill on the M here, some fill on the N. So what property can you change to make that go away, to make it all satin? Well, when you click on it, first thing you'd want to do is, I'll close this. If you double click on whatever element it is you're trying to adjust, it will bring up your object property box. You can also get to that by right clicking on your element. So click on whatever it is, right click and go to properties. You can also double click in your project view over here on whatever it is you want to edit, or right click and say properties. So you got lots of ways to get to the exact same thing. Within this, the stitching that you want to change is your top stitching. So you come over to your top stitching tab, and these are the properties that are defining what you see. So what you can see here is I've got a few columns. That's a 20-point column, a 60-point column, and that's larger than a 60-point. And you'll notice, even though my stitch type is set to satin, it's toggling over because that's satin, but that's clearly a fill. And the properties that's driving that is right here. So under your top stitching tab, you'll see it's set to satin, and ignoring the rest of this, right here you'll see a property. It says use fill for stitch lines greater than, and then a number. And what this is showing you is why a 59-point line and a 61 are flipping over. Because as soon as you get to whatever this number it is, that length, it's going to stop doing satin stitches and use fill instead. Okay, so that just is the length of how long the thread gets before the software says, okay, or based on the properties you've defined, says, all right, that thread can be no longer than 60 points, because that's what it's set here. So I'm going to convert it over to fill so that I'll have shorter pieces of thread. Why is that relevant? Well, the longer these pieces of thread get, the more prone to damage they're going to be as it's washed and whatnot, the garment integrity. So I personally don't recommend going any higher than about 70 points on there. So if you ever notice text or any element, it toggling back and forth, what you would do is go into the object properties, find the top stitching tab, and look at this number. I generally go straight to the largest number I'm willing to live with and see if that fixes my problem. So I go ahead all the way up to 70 points. If I'm good, then I move on and smile. If I still see fill, well, then I might want to consider other things like adding a split. You can always do an auto split and apply that, and it will actually do a split through here. You can adjust the partitions and other things to just play with it until you get the look you're going for in there. But putting it back to default, and I'm going to change this back to satin, and then this back to 70. So the only time I mess with those autos, the auto split, is when it's too large. Moving to 70 still isn't cutting it, and I'm still toggling between satin and fill. So I've got to make a different design decision. So it's either, change what I'm doing so it's narrower, under 70 points, add splits of some sort, or redigitize it in a different manner. So that is how you would deal with these fill, toggling between satin and fill stitches, even though it's set to be satin stitch type. Hope this was helpful for you. Again, this is Samantha Mirabal. Thanks.